Now the Phantom Troop is an infamous anime team. I think the strongest definitely Hisoka. Let's go. Let's get
especially
to it.
given just how. Hey guys, it's Prof again. This time I'm actually going over a topic I did over 3 years ago now,
Damn.
and that's ranking the Phantom Troop. Outside of the ranking itself being pretty bad, it was my very first video, and the quality definitely shows. Or lack thereof. I wanted to give an updated and higher quality look at the topic, especially given just how bad the video itself is.
I haven't
It just
watched
seemed
it
like
in
fun to
quite
tackle the
some
topic all
time.
over again. So here
I
we
haven't
are.
watched it in quite some time. So, but obviously Corollo is definitely the strongest. And then me personally, I'm definitely gonna have to go with Hisoka. Next might definitely have to be this nigga right here. I don't remember his name. He's not bad, but I think he's easily beatable. Him. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After that, I don't know.
First thing I need to
it's been a minute since I watched this anime, so I don't remember all their names.
And that's how the Hunter x Hunter community tackles power scaling as a whole. Many believe it's outright impossible to rank the Phantom Troop because of Morel's opinion that aura levels don't matter in a fight. This is somewhat true. Of course, abilities and intelligence matter in a fight a lot, but to say that aura levels and power don't matter at all is just not true. What could Morel possibly do to defeat Merwin? Why didn't Kite defeat Pito when Pito didn't even have an ability yet? What about GONN defeating the Heaven's Arena fighters? People with much more experience and fully developed men abilities. Even more recently in the latest chapters of the manga, we see that Hisoka is so powerful that's...
Okay, so I forgot it's gonna be one of these, so let me get into this right here. I forgot it was gonna be one of these videos. So, come here. Come on.
Abilities don't even affect him. There's many examples of aura and strength being the determining factor in a fight.
Yeah, even Hisoka said that shit. Like your aura has to be stronger for you to even come in here. Like Hisoka said that at the tournament, before the tournament even began, while he was at the door. Yeah, your nin has to be strong. Your aura has to be strong for you to even be able to walk in here.
Power scaling,
if I remember it correctly.
Not a random encounter where the characters can prep or something. Ranking them with 100% certainty is still hard, so I'll be dividing the characters into tiers just like I did with the S-Class ranking video, which you guys should go check out by the way. Characters in the same tier can be somewhat switched around, with characters a tier above pretty definitively being more powerful or a better fighter. That doesn't mean it's impossible for a lower ranked character to beat a higher ranked character. Yeah. Just less likely.
Yeah, okay.
With that in mind, let's get started.
Come on.
Class D is, unsurprisingly, Troupe at 15 and Pakunoda at 14.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the bottom due to having basically no feats period. He doesn't have a single fight in the entire manga and is rated last on the strength.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. Because right here is the literal rankings that they even placed themselves on themselves. It's pretty crazy.
He does have a large reserve aura as shown when he easily created 50 large buildings, but we don't know how that translates to combat. Just because he has enough aura to make all those buildings doesn't mean he can infuse all that aura into his punches or body. Pakunoda also has few feats, but she was at least able to overpower GONN and Killua in the York New arc. While GONN and Killua were still novices with Nen at this point, they were strong enough to defeat the Nen users at Heaven's Arena, a relatively impressive feat when you consider the prestige that comes with the 200th floor. That combined with the fact she has more physical strength, puts Pakunoda above Troupe. Next at Class C we have Kaluto, Shizuku, Shalnark, Machi, and Franklin.
Really? Shalnark's not that high, no. Nor is Machi? What? That's crazy as shit to me. Cause I believe they're pretty much stronger than these niggas for real.
In order.
She's not that dope, but again, I haven't watched this in forever.
Please bear with me and at least listen to what I have to say. Kaluto, Shizuku, and Shalnark are all pretty easy to go over because they each face Chimera Ant officers who feast with men. While Chimera Ants aren't all the same strength level, on average they were able to give Gon and Killua a hard time after Greed Island. Here they went from so weak they couldn't even play the game to fighting the strongest players in that game.
So I was talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Raymond, a Chimera Ant officer, gets hit by a fully charged John Ken while being completely paralyzed by Killua's lightning, and having no Nen on top of that, he still takes the attack. Other officer ants like Centipede and Barrow also forced Gon to get pretty serious. The ants then learn how to use Nen, an ant compared to the difference of a child to an adult. Kaluto rips Small Beetle into pieces, Shalnark one-shots Pell and Boku with autopilot, and Shizuku literally beats holes into Pike's body.
So I'm saying, so how the hell...
Noda, whose only feat is beating up a much weaker Gon and Killua, but even then, they were still strong enough to break some of her bones. You basically have a scale that goes Pakunoda, Gon, and Killua at the bottom, then Gon and Killua after training in Greed Island, then Chimera Ant officers, then Chimera Ant officers with Nen, and then these three above that. You could say that these three ants are just astronomically weaker than Ramon.
But again, this is the Phantom Troupe. So I understand why these may be lower, because the people that they actually fought were weak in terms of the overall show. Like, the people get far stronger in the show. So I'm not surprised that it's this low. But again, it's like, that's crazy.
For some reason. But that would be strange, since on average they all seem to be around the same level, that being strong enough to give Gon a hard time without Nen. Some people think that Kaluto should be weaker than Pakunoda or even Troupe due to Kaluto saying the other troop members are so far above him. However, neither Troupe or Pakunoda were even there at the time, so Kaluto would have no way of knowing how strong they are. You have to remember that Kaluto believed it would be easy to rise in the ranks of the troop until after she saw Phaeton in action. This means that Kaluto is only confirmed to be weaker than the troop members that were actually there, and his feats are much better than Pakunoda's. Machi and Franklin are weird because they have almost no feats at all. Machi takes down both Gon and Killua in York New, but like I already explained, this is a level below even Ramon or random Greed Island players like Tezguro, who literally called them fodder. Franklin's only combat showing is sparring with Nobunaga, but Nobunaga doesn't even draw his sword.
Exactly.
Only fights hand to hand. Machi also gets compared to Nobunaga and even Hisoka by Killua, but there is heavy context to this statement. For one, Killua never directly says Nobunaga and Machi are Hisoka level. He just tells Gon to imagine they are like two Hisokas to illustrate how much stronger they are. Killua's ability to gauge opponent's strength is also called...
It's beautiful. It's amazing.
Question. As he says, the stronger someone is, the easier it is to hide that strength. The last time Gon and Killua saw Hisoka fight was when he was heavily suppressed, and he's not really trying.
Like, my nigga, what? Wasn't even trying.
Therefore, it's not concrete to say Machi or Nobunaga would be Hisoka level, or even concrete to say she's on Nobunaga's level to begin with. Nobunaga is one of the troop's combat specialists.
Yeah, Nobunaga is definitely high up there. I think I even pointed at him when he showed all the Phantom Troupe, but I can't remember.
Alongside Finks and Phaeton, and is directly stated to protect Shizuku and Shalnark. The only other feat for Franklin is in the 2011 anime, where he is shown quote-unquote protecting Shizuku during the Mafia assault. This is a pretty big stretch in my opinion, as not only was Shizuku not in any danger or concern, but this is absent from the manga. As you guys can see, saying Machi and Franklin are for sure stronger than Shizuku is janky. Saying she's a support type doesn't really mean much because she's clearly stronger than people with combat abilities like Kaluto. Even Kaluto has a much better feat than Machi, who Killua could even sort of damage. Once again, Machi was not there when Kaluto said the troop was above him, so you can't even concretely scale Machi over Kaluto based on
this shit gets so confusing, bro.
Why we need tiers, and why this can get really confusing. The main problem comes from certain characters, very popular and beloved characters, having almost no real accolades to their name. They just look cool and seem strong. If you do believe Machi and Franklin scale to Nobunaga, then the ranking would be Kaluto at 13, Shizuku and Shalnark at 12-11, then Machi and Franklin at 10 and 9. Between Shizuku and Shallnark is hard to say, since Autopilot Shallnark did one-shot his opponent, and however the ants he fought are questionable since Pell is just a peon Chimera ant, and Boku was a non-combat type with a manipulator ability. Shallnark also isn't a typical combatant as a manipulator who controls people. Hard to say which one is above the other, but
I don't know, man. That's difficult.
who admitted to being below them. Franklin and Machi are also borderline indistinguishable, although Franklin has more raw strength, and his bullets likely give him an edge over Machi, who has no ranged attacks. If you don't buy Machi and Franklin scaling to Nobunaga, then the ranking would almost completely flip, with Franklin and Machi being 13 and 12, Kaluto being 11, and Shallnark and Shizuku being 10 and 9.
Damn.
I'll say that in terms of concrete scaling, it's very hard to say that Machi and Franklin rank highly. They simply don't have enough feats, especially compared to facing Chimera Ant officers.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've scoured the entire manga, translated all the databook pages, rewatched the whole anime, because I know the Machi fans will burn me at the stake for placing her below the top 10 at least. But in my gut, I do think Machi and Franklin are supposed to be stronger.
They're for sure.
But still only capped
for
at
sure.
the top of this.
They literally didn't even show their strength for real. So they were definitely supposed to be stronger.
For now. I'll let you guys decide in the comments. Next up in Class B, Nobunaga, Finks, and Benola.
I'm not mad at that. Finks was his name. I was thinking Finks. I just didn't know his name. And I even pointed out the other nigga with the bandages.
Follows Class C, as he is stated by Crollo to protect Shizuku and Shallnark. Protecting someone doesn't automatically mean you are stronger than they are. After all, Meryl's guards are weaker than he is. But in this context, Nobunaga is a combat type who protects members with more valuable support powers. Therefore, he should be capable of replicating what they did to Chimera Ants they fought, only much better. His only other scaling is completely terrifying York knew Arc Killua to the point he couldn't even run away. Like I said, York knew Killua isn't that impressive, but what is impressive is the fact that Killua never reacted this intensely to Finks when placed in a similar situation, nor did it kick in when facing Machi. This means that Nobunaga is probably stronger than at least base Finks. Nobunaga is also an Aikido master, with the Hunter Guide stating outright he is the best fighter in the troupe in terms of combat skill, like swordsmanship and martial arts. Even if you think Franklin and Machi are near his level, they should definitely be weaker, not even drawing his sword to fight Franklin, and being much more skilled than they are. Finks and Manolinov both fight Chimera Ant officers, and once they use their heavy-hitting attacks, Ripper Cyclotron and Battle Cantabile Jupiter, they one-shot their opponents. This is more impressive than Class C, who spends a lot longer or struggles more with their opponents. Autopilot Shallnark could be here as well, considering his aura level completely baffled Boku, but it's not very likely since he should be weaker than Nobunaga. Finks can't actually do any damage to the gorilla ant he fought with his Nen-enhanced punches, and Manolinov can't scratch the ant with his prologue attack, but they are both confident they could take down Transform Zazan, probably meaning with their strongest attacks, they can damage Squadron Leader tier ants. Of the three, I think Nobunaga would be last at 8. Nobunaga's only concrete scaling is being much stronger than Shizuku, who struggled a lot with her opponent, as opposed to getting one-shot. It's definitely possible he could one-shot Officer Ants, we just don't know. Killua also might have been able to sense Finks' true power with his Nen ability, and still thought Nobunaga was scarier. But it seems he actually has to see the ability to know how dangerous it is. Between Finks and Benolinov, Benolinov's Jupiter only manages to crush the ant he fought.
It doesn't disintegrate him.
Completely turns his to paste. While they probably aren't exactly equally strong or anything, it's still all we really have to go off of. Finks' ability, Ripper Cyclodron, charges each time he lines his punch, meaning he could theoretically charge up his attacks even more, whereas Jupiter is the strongest thing we've seen from Benolinov so far. Therefore, Benolinov is 7 and Finks is 6. Class A.
Wow, Nobunaga's for sure.
Uvogan and Illumi.
Illumi! I forgot about Illumi.
And non-order. Phaeton just has a much better feat compared to
I like Phaeton
and that's
Illumi.
Fighting Zazan. After seeing Zazan, the other troupe members believe she must be the queen based on her strength, and Zazan also believes she's stronger than her soldiers. The fact Phaeton can hold his own and even overwhelm her when he's not even at top speed means he'd dominate all her soldiers without even using his Nen ability. He's even able to damage Zazan with his projectile sword, when Bonolenov and Finks couldn't even scratch her soldiers without their abilities, meaning Phaeton's straight-up combat abilities should be superior to Class B entirely. Of course, he gets dominated by Transform Zazan to the point even Ko does literally no damage, but Finks and Bonolenov are confident they can still fight Transform Zazan. You'd think that puts them on a similar level to Phaeton, but of course Phaeton has his own ability, Pain Packer, which translates the damage he takes into different powers. When transformed into a rising sun, all the troop members run away out of fear and it fries Zazan. He even says this ability was on the weaker side, meaning not only can this ability get even stronger, but it implies he has fought people much stronger than Zazan, which push his ability even further. Regardless, basically one-shotting Transform Zazan is an unparalleled feat by any character thus far.
Yeah.
While you can say Finks and Bonolenov were confident, we don't know the exact circumstances of how they would defeat her. All we know is they think they would win, which could also be overconfidence.
True. Because again, as you said, they struggled with weaker opponents and used their strongest ability. Regardless, even though Finks didn't use his strongest, he just wound it up to like 15 and punched. That's not his strongest per se, but he still had to wound up a pretty decent amount to obliterate him.
Tackling like Light Yagami over Zazan's corpse, and it's pretty clear it's a lot better feat. Overall, defeating Zazan is just way better than anything Class B has pulled off, so Phaeton definitely deserves to be in the top 5. Many would rank Uvogin closer to Finks and Nobunaga, but consistently, his statements and feats are way above them.
True, but man, that really just goes to show you how strong Kurapika is. This places Kurapika easily high class A if she was in the Phantom Troupe. He was in the Phantom Troupe. If he was, for sure. Because he destroyed this nigga, bruh.
Downplay Uvogin due to his loss against Kurapika, but throughout the fight, Uvogin was superior to Kurapika in raw power.
Yeah, for sure. We all know that.
Nobody, period, can withstand his full power Big Bang Impact, which shatters Kurapika's arm, who has mastered Nen Enhancement. As a founding member, he has probably seen every troop member in combat and doesn't think any of their Nen defenses are enough to block his Big Bang Impact. This is insane because that would include Trollo, who has fought Silva Zoldyck more than once, and fought Silva and Zeno at the same time.
Exactly! It's crazy.
Nen blasts and punches. Silva one-shot Chi2, a squadron leader Chimera Ant who trained with Poof and P2, meaning his use of Nen is probably even better than Zazan. Frollo has fought this guy twice and still thinks Uvogin can beat pretty much any...
Wow. That's pretty crazy, because it's really crazy. Because that nigga Silva is crazy good. But again, I haven't watched this in so long.
Agrees. Finks can't even scratch Officer Ants with his normal punches and needs to resort to his Nen ability, while Uvogin is pretty much one-shotting Ants on an even higher caliber. Backing up Uvogin being stronger than Finks is actually GONN. GONN, later in the Chimera Ant arc, after training with Knuckle and Bisky, is able to take down Chimera Ant officers without even trying. And these Ants have Nen. Even when two Ants are comboing him with teamwork attacks, GONN takes almost no damage. His John Ken, which is basically him focusing all his aura into his fist, plus a small charge time, was even enough to scare Knuckle, someone who could take a beatdown from Chi2 with almost no real damage. You then have the recent Togashi Expo, where we learn more about Nen and Nen affinities, and it's confirmed Uvogin is a far superior enhancer to GONN. GONN's feats in the Chimera Ant arc are honestly just much better than what Finks has shown us so far, and Uvogin is much stronger than GONN. This combined with the manga volume statement confirming Uvogin is one of the strongest Phantom Troupe members, all but confirms he belongs in Class
Definitely
A.
The strongest in the group. One of the strongest, for sure.
Illumi is really weird.
I think Illumi's nice. Illumi is nice.
Hisoka considers a good opponent, but simultaneously gets his arm broken by beginning of series no Nen GONN. Consistently, however, he is considered a very high-tier fighter. During the election arc, Hisoka is sizing
but that just proved how strong GONN was, or how strong he could have been, and that's all it proves.
hunters and rates the Zodiacs between 8.5 and 9, but rates Illumi even higher at a 9.5. Usually you could say Hisoka has no idea what he's talking about, but Hisoka is actually extremely insightful, engaging
extremely
potential. He knew Netero was the strongest at the Hunter exams, as well as correctly surmising that Gon had the most potential of everyone else, just like Netero did, and their analysis was correct. He also correctly knew that Chrollo was the strongest Troupe member, which we'll get to soon, despite some members having more aura or physical strength. It seems to be some kind of sixth sense that some characters have, like Pito and Netero. The Zodiacs are the top hunters, with Kanzai straight up saying they are stronger than Morel and Nav. Morel can of course fight and defeat Squadron Leader Chimera Ants like Layol and Chitu. The Zodiacs are also Netero's sparring partners, who even while extremely rusty can easily solo entire squads of Chimera Ants without even trying. Killua even tried using Illumi and Hisoka to scare Morel, Nav, and Netero from fighting Pito when he believed he had a good gauge on their strength, and he mentions Illumi instead of Nobunaga, who he's faced before. Hisoka also considers Illumi a worthy opponent, someone he actively seeks out a fight with and highly values his abilities. Hisoka, as we'll see shortly after, can fight Chrollo, who scales to Zeno and Silva Zoldyck. All that taken into account, it seems consistent that Illumi should scale above Squadron Leader level. Would be pretty weird if he scaled below something that Silva could one-shot. The only problem with Illumi is I don't know what specifically makes him so strong.
Yeah,
he has
that's literally the same with Itachi, bro. Literally the absolute same with Itachi, bro.
So we don't know what skills or powers make him strong.
But we just know that he is extremely strong just from all the stuff we hear.
Have a lot of aura? Is he just super skilled or fast and just one-shots people with his needles? We don't know. All we know is overall, he should be above Squadron Leader tier, which is better than Class B, who are Squadron Leader tier at best. Putting an order to Class A is especially hard since their abilities are so varied. Illumi's Manipulator Needles could neutralize Uvogan's strength advantage, or beat Phaeton without hurting him. Phaeton might take a few hits then bust out Pain Packer on Uvogan, or maybe Uvogan is too physically powerful for them to handle. If I had to pick, I'd say Phaeton would be 5, Uvogan 4, and Illumi 3.
I'm not mad at it.
Phaeton, while definitely above, had much more trouble against Zazan, an opponent Uvogan may be physically stronger than. While Rising Sun could definitely take him down, it's debatable if Phaeton could even survive a single full power punch from Uvogan. Illumi is extra hard to rank, but the fact that Hisoka holds him in such high regard, but didn't seem to feel anything for Uvogan.
That's what I'm saying. I was literally about to say that. Like, such high regard for him, but doesn't even mention Uvogan, like, at all. It just shows you. It just shows you.
His overall combat ability is above everyone else so far. But, like I said, Class A is debatable, and I'd love to see how you would rank these 3 in the comments.
I know we all want to see Hisoka and fucking Chrollo go at it. Those are the last 2, so we already know.
Lastly, Hisoka and Chrollo in Class S. Big surprise. While most people definitely agree Chrollo stands at the top, there's many contentions with Hisoka,
I'm not mad at it.
Of course I'll have to go over. Chrollo is basically confirmed in the Hunter Guide to be the strongest in the Troupe, with it being stated he only joins the battlefield when there is a major crisis, like the Troupe being in danger. This is backed up by a later statement in the same guide that Chrollo's combat skills are the best in the Troupe and some of the best in the entire world. In terms of feats, he blatantly scales to Zeno and Silva Zoldyck. When Zeno saw his aura, he went so far as to say he might have to die just to take Chrollo down, despite the fact they were fighting him 2-on-1.
Exactly.
The Hunter Guide also confirms this, saying his combat abilities without prep are on par with Zeno and Silva Zoldyck. Silva being...
And that's what I noticed. He wasn't training shit. He wasn't training anything, but he was still able to hold his own against Silva and Zen.
The same guy who can one-shot Squadron Leader Chitu, and Zeno was so strong that Netero trusted him to help divide the Royal Guard away from Meruem, and after sensing his strength, even Neferpitu got excited to fight him. Chrollo can block their punches, blasts, and damage them, even when he's not really trying. I know it sounds strange. Chrollo scales to Silva Zoldyck, Silva one-shots Chitu, and Finks can't one-shot random, no-name gorilla ant. But like I said, the arm wrestling rankings don't include Nen enhanced.
Yeah, like, Chrollo's all the way down here. But this is just arm ranking. This is just arm rankings. Arm wrestling. because when Gon went after her in an arm wrestling, he couldn't beat her. And Gon at that level was pretty strong at that level, to say the least, because these people noticed him.
And are just base physical strength. We even see that when Nobunaga arm wrestles Gon, neither of them use Nen, and when Gon gets enraged and uses Nen, he wins, despite Nobunaga being able to one-shot Gon and Killua. Chrollo can just have so much more aura compared to the lower ranked members, which is why his feats are far superior. He's regularly referred to as Hisoka's supreme prey, someone he wants to fight more than anyone else, more than Illumi, and more than any Phantom True member, including Uvogin, who willingly let Kurapika unalive. He's also seen Razor, Killua, Enraged Gon's John Ken, and none of them hold up to Chrollo. That evidently brings us to Hisoka, who blatantly scales to Chrollo in physical ability. Even when Chrollo slams Hisoka by literally stomping on him repeatedly, Hisoka takes almost no damage and just calculates his next move, while just a few smacks with bungee gum is enough to draw blood from Chrollo. Of course, Chrollo preps a lot to fight Hisoka, claiming nobody has forced him to use as many abilities as Hisoka did. Even though Hisoka lost the fight, the entire thing was basically orchestrated for him to lose, and doesn't mean he would instantly lose to Chrollo if they fought normally. And for you Chrollo down players, it also doesn't mean Hisoka would just smack Chrollo without prep. As Chrollo himself states, his fighting style is to absolutely guarantee his victory, to erase any chance of defeat because Chrollo believes absolutely in fate and blah 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 narrative stuff like that. Regardless, the fact he needed to prep doesn't mean he needed to win, but it does mean...
It shows how strong he is.
Mean that Hisoka absolutely poses a threat to Chrollo at the very least. Hisoka should therefore scale to Zeno and Silva as well, just like Chrollo, which is backed up by the fact that Illumi backs down from him whenever he is threatened. He doesn't consider most of the Troupe particularly interesting despite his weird sixth sensibility. Facts. He does have a fondness for Manchi, but that doesn't mean she scales to him. Hisoka even wants to fight Kaluto and Leorio. He lets Kurapika take down Rogan and doesn't actively pursue fights with them until he is trying to murder them. Hisoka and Chrollo both have 4 out of 5 combat stats in the guides, above Zazan and above the other squadron leaders, and both have extremely versatile abilities backed by top-tier combat IQs. As for who is stronger, again, it's hard to say.
It's hard.
They both scale extremely closely with different powers that make them hard to say who would win in a straight-up fight. You can interchange them depending on who you think is stronger, but they are for sure beating everyone else below. They are pretty clearly 2 of the strongest characters in the series, at least before the super powerful mutants show up. Anyway, thank you guys for watching once again. I know this list is very controversial and up for interpretation.
I'm not mad at it.
That's honestly the only way I can make this
make
sense without losing half the audience. If you guys like Hunter x Hunter content, please hit the subscribe button so I know to make more videos like this. If you didn't like the video, make sure you join my Discord server and we can talk about it there. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time.
I'm not mad at it. Me personally, I'm not mad at it. I'm just more surprised about the people who are in lower classes, but at the same time, Class A, I'm not too mad about. I forgot about Illumi, but I definitely place Illumi above Uvogin and that last nigga. But I definitely place that nigga in Illumi in the top 5, easily. I'm surprised Sphinx is so low, because I think his ability is pretty cool. It's just, if he was wound up 20 times, he could be able to take down stronger opponents. But again, that's just using his ability. He can't do it without it. I'm not mad at the list. I'm not. Just a little, I'm just like a little wow on the list because I forgot these people's names. Forgot what they did. I'm not mad at it though. I just would think, that one dude, that one nigga with the manipulator ability would be a little higher than some of these people. Like that's, I don't know. Oh, and Ubo Nogian, however you say his name, I would think he would be a little higher in the rank B. I would think he'd be a little higher in rank B, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at your list, but I'm about to get off of here. I've been on here for at least 30 minutes. Yeah. at least 30 minutes. I hope you enjoyed. I love y'all.